On this episode of the Aquila 32 Sport Owner's Experience Series, we're going to cover the throne on the boat and the control room. The Aquila has an excellent setup and roomy control room, especially for the 32-foot category. The head is located on the starboard side of the boat, just in front of the helm. It's a wet head, meaning that there's a shower head but no separate shower. The water just drains from the room via a floor drain in the center. The control room is integrated into this area. You'd think that'd be a strange place to put electrical equipment, but the room is well separated and there's a separate drain in there just in case some water trickles in. Well, here's your introduction to the head. This is where you can get in, and I want you to see this from the outside. You can't see inside, okay? But this is unnerving when you're sitting in there. So if we kind of come in here, let me open this up, and we go on in. And close this door. So when I close this door, oh yeah, I mean, you can play some great jokes on your friends acting like you can see inside here when you really can't. But it kind of does give this an open feel. But again, it can be a little unnerving just being able to see that much out. But you got to know you can't see in. The same is true for the cabin. From the outside, it's dark. From the inside, you have the same nearly clear view looking out. That said, if it's evening and the lights are on in the head or the cabin, you'll probably be able to see a little from the salon. These pictures don't have anything to do with the shaded doors, but I just think the view from the bed is beautiful. The first thing you need to do before using the head is to make sure that the proper power and pumps are turned on. To do this, you need to go to your C zone in the cabin or to your Raymarine unit and turn on the toilet and the water pump and the gray water pump. So let's get familiar with the head. Okay, so here is your shower. You can pull this thing out to wherever you need it. In fact, what I'm looking at doing is taking one of those suck-on clamps that I've got actually in my house. I'm going to attach this to this so that I can just attach it up here high and maybe just sit on this seat or maybe here on the toilet where I'm at right now and just leave it up there so I can have two hands free to take a shower. Okay, so this is the shower head holder that I bought off Amazon for a few dollars, and this thing can be stuck anywhere. And I just found a spot right there. It seemed like a good spot for it. So if I come here and bring this up, this fits just like that in there, and you can adjust it to make it spray over or wherever. And you know what? It can also go right up here over the top. I'm sitting on the John right now, but you can put it right up here and you can wash your hair and let all your stuff fall and you're good to go. You can even put it above the sink if you wanted to, but this just gives you hands-free operation. It gives you a place to put something. I noticed that the Aquila 36 actually had a shower head holder, but you really don't need one. This thing's got a good smooth surface on there so you can attach that at any time, and it's great. Inside here also we got two 110 outlets, and it's a GFCI breaker system. You've also got your air conditioning and heating vent. There's your CO2 detector. Down here you have your flush modes and so forth. Okay, so let's get familiar with the throne. It's an automated flushing system ran by the Raymarine flushing system here. And with each one, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the economy looks like. So as I press that, let's take a look at the toilet here. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and that's the amount of water that we're going to get back on this, okay? So now let's take a look at what the regular or normal flush looks like. So we'll do the normal flush. Fills up pretty good with water. And it's going to fill itself back up. Okay, and then you've got the empty. So let's take a look at what empty does. I think it's going to just empty the toilet. And it does. So that way the water's just sitting down at the bottom. So what if you want to increase or decrease the amount of water used during a flush? I mean, everybody's got a friend or family member that's the Duke of defecation. So you might need more water for that flush. So to do that, as you take a look down here, you can see you got your power light is on, which is good. You hold these two buttons here for, I think it's 5 seconds, until this starts blinking red. Let's press these both at the same time. See if we can get that full light to come on. There, it's blinking. So now to lower it, or to raise it, you just press this. You can hear it beeping. That's maximum when it quits beeping. If you want to lower it, you're going to press this. You can hear it beeping. So let's take a look at what it looks like all the way full. That's maximum. So we're going to leave it alone, and then this power light's going to come on. Now the power light's on, that means it's set. So let's go ahead and flush it and take a look at what maximum water looks like in here. Alright, so we have everything open. Let's go ahead and flush it. Do a normal flush. Really filling up with water. Really filling up with water. Okay, so what's happening here, it looks like, is that this water level here right now is not changing, but the amount that fills up during the flush is what changes. So it's going to use more water during a flush. So you can raise that amount of water or lower the amount of water just by playing with these buttons here. Let's take a look at what happens with the 3. Normal flush. This is what 1 looks like. Before that test, the water tank was pretty much full. So after all those flushes I just did on this thing, and I did one prior to this, we're at 70% on our water tank. So if I press that, take a look at that, you can see that we have 20 gallons on a 29 capacity. So in all those flushes, we've used about 8 gallons of water. So that is going to give you an idea of how fast you're going to be using the water. So where's your waste pump out on this boat? Well, turns out it's right here on the front, starboard side. Get out your little special key. That's your waste pump out. Up here, just above it, you've got your storage cabinet. And in here you can see, there's your toilet paper holder. Then there's some other storage for other things that you might need. We've got double access to this cabinet. There's another slider over here. We just happen to have our first aid kit over here as well. And behind me, your fan controls and so forth are back here on the back. Up here you have a vent to open up, and you also have something for privacy if you need it. There it is again. Clips in behind, privacy. Good to go. Down low, under the cabinet, a couple of pretty important valves. When you open this up, you have your pump. You also have your gray water, which is basically going to be attached to this drain that's in your floorboard. So here's your drain for your shower. Whenever you take a shower, all your water is going to circle around there, and that's where it goes. And with this valve open like this, your shower is going to drain straight out. That will make this thing hold water, not something you want to do. Over here is your black water release. Okay, that's your water that it's illegal to dump unless you're 12 miles offshore. So this valve needs to be remaining here. You do this and you've got a problem because you're going to be dumping as soon as you go. Another thing you'll find inside your toilet is a fire extinguisher that's located right behind the stairway. The power room is located just behind these two doors in the head. I'm a fairly tall guy, so the power room isn't something you're going to be walking into unless you're a lot shorter than I am. However, I can easily get in on my knees and have plenty of room to work. Let's start on the left. On the bottom, you'll find the COI boxes, and each of them have an opaque plastic cover. To access the fuses, you just push the clips on the right and left away from the box, and the cover will drop off. These work directly with the C zone. Be sure to check out my video covering the C zone. They've done an excellent job of labeling each of the fuses. The fuses have two positions they can be in, manual or automatic. If the fuse is in the lower two connections, they are in the automatic mode. This is the default. If you need to bypass automatic and force an item on, you pull it out and move it to the two upper connections. Above the COI boxes is your inverter charger, also from C zone. The inverter converts DC power from your batteries into AC power. This allows you to use AC power items like outlets, appliances, etc. without having to use shore power. Depending on the year of your boat, the switch setting may differ, but it's all the same concept. On mine, I have a 3-position switch. Up is on, and that's where you typically want it to stay. In this position, it converts your battery power to AC power, and it also supplies a trickle charge to all of the onboard batteries when you are plugged into shore power. In the off position, you won't be able to use any of the outlets or appliances, and your batteries won't be able to receive a charge. The CH or charge position is used to concentrate a charge to your onboard batteries when connected to shore power. This is good if you have low batteries from running AC power items without the motor running. If the motors are running, the alternator on your motors will start the battery charging process through your inverter. In this position, you won't have power to your outlets, but your batteries may be getting a well-deserved and concentrated charge. Above the 3-position switch, you'll find a percentage gauge. This will show you the amount of output charge the inverter is sending to your batteries. 100% indicates that it's at maximum charge output to the batteries, and 5% indicates the minimum output, only providing a trickle charge to maintain the batteries. To the right of the percentages, you'll see 3 icons for float, ABS, and bulk. Bulk tells the system to charge at the battery's maximum current until the voltages reach the absorption voltage, which is about 80 to 90%. This stage uses current control and is used for fast charging when the state of the charge is low. During this stage, the voltage increases from about 12 and change to 14 and change, while the current is held relatively constant. If you see absorption, it tells the system to keep the voltage constant until the battery is full. During this phase, the current drops slowly as it becomes more difficult to push current through the battery. This stage uses voltage control and is used to prevent overcharging the battery when the state of charge is higher than a certain level. Float tells the system to charge the battery at a float voltage, but very slowly. The float voltage is noticeably lower than the absorption voltage. This stage uses voltage control and is used when the battery is close to being fully charged. Below this are 2 lights, inverter and charger. On this picture, the charger light is on, indicating that the inverter charger detects AC input, like shore power. If you're plugged into shore power, there's no need for the inverter to convert the voltage, so this is what you'll see. If you're not plugged in and your motors are running, the charger light will turn off and the inverter light will illuminate, indicating that it's converting the DC power to AC power. What you see in this picture is what you should see under normal circumstances. You can see that the battery charge is at 5% and the battery is at float power. So right now it's doing a trickle charge and maintaining a full charge state. By the way, when I was speaking with the Sino Eagle Yacht Company, the boat manufacturer, they warned me against letting the house batteries get at or below 10 volts, and online research tells me to keep the batteries above 50% of their capacity. So watch this closely when you're running appliances without shore power or the motors running. To the right of the inverter is more circuitry, and above that is the Mastervolt communications bus. Above that is the Mastervolt DC Master. This is a DC to DC converter. A DC to DC converter is an electronic device that converts a source of DC power from your alternators on your motors from one voltage level to another. It's an electronic power converter. In our case, the DC power can be supplied from one or both motors, so 12 or 24 volts. Because a DC to DC converter can convert voltage upward or downward, my guess is that there is a downward conversion from 24 volts to 12 volts to maintain a consistent 12 volts to the converter. I can't understate just how closely the inverter and C-zone work together to make life on the Aquila better. To the left of the inverter, on the wall adjacent to the head, you'll see a black box with a plastic cover. This is the Blue Sea Systems ELCI box. If you remove the plastic cover, you'll see an AC light that'll illuminate if you're plugged into shore power. You'll also see a white button that says Test Monthly with a 30 amp breaker above. This is like your GFCI in your bathroom outlets, but it is a giant GFCI that monitors your shore power. When you press the white button, it should pop the 30 amp breaker. To reset it, just press it back in. On the back wall of the control room is your Fusion radio amplifier. To the right are some electric buses, and all the way up, you'll be able to see the back of your Raymarine MFDs. Turning to the right, you'll see the HVAC ductwork for the bathroom, and above that, your Raymarine VHF radio box. Looking above that, you'll see more fuses. I haven't opened this, but guessing from its location, I think they are related to the Helm electronics, the Raymarine MFD, and the Fusion and VHF radios. While we're talking about the head and electronics, we should venture towards the back of the boat. Back here, you'll find a couple of critical sources for the head, like the 29-gallon water tank and your 15-gallon water heater. While we're mentioning tanks, your black water tank, or poop tank, is located towards the front of the boat and has a 21-gallon capacity. You can see your usage of the fresh and black water tanks from your C-zone panel in the cabin, so that you can plan your resupply or dumping accordingly. You should note that, like your AC unit, your water heater can only be used if you're plugged into shore power or if you have a generator. My Aquila doesn't have the generator, so I'll be limited to showers at the marinas, and that's okay by me. The generators are a blessing and a curse. If you're one to do a lot of offshore anchorage, it'll be a real blessing. But if you're not, that diesel fuel can get old, and there are horror stories of fuel problems and generators. Generators need to be used. That said, my alternative is what's referred to as a suitcase generator, which is great offshore, but not appreciated at marinas because of the noise at night. I'm a fair weather sailor, so I'm not going to be the guy that's offshore and anchoring, and I'll be the one visiting the marinas and sleeping at B&Bs mostly, but I do plan on using my cabin sometime. To the right of the tanks, you will find a galvanic isolator. A galvanic isolator prevents electrolyte corrosion. It blocks low voltage DC currents that enter your boat via the shore power earth wire. These currents can cause corrosion to the boat's underwater metals like the hull, propeller, shaft, and so on. On a similar note, I bought my Aquila used, and in its prior life it was parked at what was referred to as a hot marina. A hot marina is one that has stray currents from defective electrical installations and is usually a symptom of a low-level ground fault. This is definitely dangerous to local swimmers, but for your boat, it may also be a source of corrosion and problems on board. Hopefully your zincs will catch the corrosion, but to prevent problems on the boat, the prior owner installed an isolation transformer as additional protection from stray voltages at hot marinas. This was a nice add-on for me. Below the isolator is the Blue Sea Systems ACR. The ACR combines batteries while charging and isolates them when charging has stopped. The system allows charging of separate batteries from your inverter charger and engine alternators. Right beside that is the Blue Sea Systems remote battery switch. This switch allows you to disconnect your batteries from any load in a convenient location, in our case the cabin, without having to go down to the engine room. For example, you can use the remote battery switch on your boat to turn the battery off in an emergency, like an electrical fire, at a safe distance from the fire source. On the floor and to the right of the tanks is your air conditioning pump. One note here is to make sure that your hose connections are good. A hose leak here could pump large amounts of water into the hull, causing a lot of problems. Above the pump, you'll find the power box for the pump. To the right of the tanks and on the wall is your freshwater pump that provides water to your faucets and to your showers. Since we're discussing this area, I wanted to cover a sore subject for the prior owner and something I'm having to deal with now. When you open the panel with the seat on it, it's supported by 2 gas cylinders. This seat is pretty heavy. Both cylinders are identical, but the one on the right has an additional removable tube on the outside that acts as a safety lock to hold the hatch open. When you open the hatch, the outer tube drops onto the rod and has to be lifted up to close the hatch. In any event, the prior owner went through a few gas cylinders and some cylinder supports when folks on board tried to close the hatch without lifting the outer tube first. And like everything else on the boat, they're not cheap to replace, so his solution was eventually to remove it and only use the one cylinder. I ended up buying a new cylinder support and chose to forego the outer safety tube. I noted that the seat takes a little effort to close and holds open just fine. However, I'm certain that the outer safety tube was put on there to prevent the hatch from inadvertently closing on someone in rough waters. Because of the weight, it could definitely cause serious injury. Again, being a fair weather sailor, the elimination of the safety tube shouldn't be an issue for me. Well, that about wraps it up for my experience with the head and control room. I hope this has been informative for both those who already have an Aquila 32 and for those considering a purchase. Stay tuned for more owner experience videos for the Aquila 32 Sport. Thanks for watching, and until then, see you!